All right. Bitcoin is breaking down as we speak right now. We have talked about this pattern for the last couple of days, right? If we come to the daily time frame here, we have been talking about this pattern, which is a bear flag, right? Now, what are some important levels to be looking out for and where Bitcoin could bounce? I think those are going to be some ideas that are really important to think about, especially if you're a bull or even if you're just a trader, right? Now, I am a trader, right? I am still bullish on Bitcoin currently, right? And I've talked about this pattern here. Bear flags usually break to the downside. And I've had some bullish points to make for the past couple of days. But I still mentioned that the bear flag favors the bears in terms of a breakdown. Now, how far can this thing go, right? Now, we actually had a breakdown today, Friday 28th, March 28th. We put the measure move to the breakdown point right here, right? Which will give us about 82.5K here. So that's basically what I'm looking at as a target. Of course, it could go lower, especially if panic sets in, right? I've seen that. So that is, so these are some of the moves I'm looking for, some of the levels I'm looking for, right? Now we are at the daily 200. We are past that. Daily 200 is about 85.8K. The daily 21 is 84 point. Well, we're basically where it's at right now, about 84K right there, right? The blue line. So these are some important levels that Bitcoin could bounce, right? Now, these are, of course, just my speculations. I would think about me myself, I would think about putting in a short term trade, right? Um, just very short term for the bounce. It doesn't mean that it's gonna bounce and get a higher high, but that's a way that I would look at profiting from this, right? Of course, there's many reasons why you should not be following what I'm doing, including you do not know the logic behind that, or if you don't know what you would do if your trade goes wrong. It has and it can, right? And so you really just have to do your own research and come up with your own strategy because this is not financial advice, right? But that is one way I am looking at profiting from this. We are at some key levels for Bitcoin, right? If it breaks these key levels, then it could be going much lower, right? So Bitcoin is at some very important levels right now because it's at the daily 200 SMA. We are, let's see if the daily candle still can close above it. And of course, the daily 21 SMA. So it's basically at those two levels. Very bad if, Bitcoin starts breaking and getting daily candle closes below these two moving averages, right? Then that's going to send Bitcoin into uh, you know, bear market territory because the daily 200 SMA is basically the divide between the bull market and the bear market. I know we are kind of consolidating within this level right now, but if we start getting daily candle closes below that, that is not going to be looking good. Now, there are some bullish ideas here as well, right? If we come to the hourly time frame, which is basically the shorter time frame here, um, I did mention that we were uh, in a falling wedge, right? And we broke down from that falling wedge, which is not great. One thing I could be looking for is, if Bitcoin actually breaks back into this falling wedge pattern, that would tell me that this is a bear trap, right? So I still have my chart up, just so that I can know if the bulls are actually able to trap the bears. If that is the case, right? And in case the bears are trapped, then I would know by seeing price action back into this pattern, into this falling wedge pattern, right? So that is what I'm looking for. Okay. Now, we do have quite a bit of moving averages, short-term moving averages beneath the price action as well, or about where the price action is as well, including the 12-hour moving averages. So that's on the short-term basis. On the on a bigger time frame basis, right? The weekly 50 SMA is at about 76.5. Okay, that is going to be a much bigger drop. I would not rule that out of the cards, right? Because I do look at the stock market, the S&P 500 ES1 mini futures, because there's high correlation between the stock market futures and Bitcoin. And in terms of the stock market, it has already gone down to the weekly 50 SMA already. So, that could still spell out that Bitcoin could come down to the weekly 50 SMA. So I am not going to rule out that scenario. Okay, that's going to be the next key level I'm looking for is the weekly 50 SMA, much, much bigger drop, right? Now, like I said, on the bullish aspect of this thing is, on the more bullish aspect of this thing is, which is, we see that the price action has been just, it just continues to crash, right, for the past couple of weeks. These are weekly candles. This is the weekly S&P 500 chart, right? It just crashes, but without a retest to the weekly 21 SMA. Okay, I mean, I would at least expect a retest. That would at least take the S&P 500 back to about almost 6,000, right? So I don't usually see drops without retests. So I mean, that's at least one short-term bullish point I can make, right? Of course, it could still keep dropping without retesting, right? It's just not very common, right? If the S&P 500 actually goes back up to retest the weekly 21 SMA, then I would expect more likely than not that Bitcoin does the same, and that would take Bitcoin back up to about 94,000, right? So that is one bullish point that that I could make, right? Of course, it's not 100% going to happen, but it's just something that I would be keeping in mind, right? So that's basically what I'm looking at, how I would potentially trade this, okay? And that basically brings me to this update for today, all right? Give me a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.